Story 1. Going into a grocery store and buying what you want without looking at prices. There was a time I was able to do this, but now that I am poor, my food choices are limited. Story 2. Therapy. Just get therapy. Everyone on Reddit says repeatedly, like guys at the gym, but therapy costs money, and the kind of therapists my insurance covers all have year-long plus waiting lists. Then, when I finally get one, it's time for them to retire. Or my plan changes slightly, causing me to start the cycle all over again. I'll just keep overeating and drinking occasionally, thanks. Story 3. Supportive parents. Parents letting you live with them even if you pay them rent. That's a luxury a lot of people do not have. Tired of people acting like they aren't privileged when they say they live with their parents. Story 4. Hearing. I'm partially deaf and have been since 3. It would be nice to hear as well as friends. Though, on the bright side, I can at least jokingly imitate the deaf worm from SpongeBob. Story 5. Good health. Not everyone is born healthy. Many people become unwell and stay unwell from a young age. It costs a huge amount to maintain a semblance of health if you do not have it, and can affect entire families for generations financially, physically, and emotionally. Add to it that many people attribute poor health as an indication of having personal values. No, I have not done anything wrong, I just had bad luck. Story 6. Paid university money from parents. Speaking to classmates who didn't care about their education, and I was paying for it myself when I was completing my undergraduate degree. Story 7. School previously wasn't as big of a deal. Many parents and kids didn't see the point of continuing education unless you were high class, since manual labor and farm work were more important than education. Story 8. Having good teeth. People judge others for their teeth so harshly. It's one of the first things you see when talking to someone, so it's part of your first impressions. And bad teeth equal unhygienic. But in reality, if you're like me, bad teeth equals some really unfortunate genetics. My teeth genetics are genuinely so bad I've decided I won't ever have kids. Like, the main reason I won't have biological kids. Because I cannot imagine cursing my child like that. Never mind the overwhelming cost of healthcare in America. Story 9. As a person with severe anxiety, a brain that works normally and does not make you believe that you should be worried about every single little thing that happens or already happened or is going to happen sounds really nice to me. Story 10. Having parents who understand and can deal with bureaucracy. I'm a first-generation kid. Taxes, free application for federal student aid, college applications, college credits, insurance, loans. My parents have no clue what any of this is. If yours do, then you didn't struggle on your own to figure them out. Story 11. I associate privilege with excess. Clean water, healthcare free at the point of delivery, quality education that expands people's minds, secure housing, a reliable source of nutrition, all basic human rights. Entertainment that is either purely distracting, mind-expanding, or a combination of the two is also vital, I feel. Open-top sports cars, houses with more rooms than you need, high-end low-quality brands, needless cosmetic surgery, travel without experiencing the reality of far-flung places. Certainly a luxury to some, but I see them as a waking nightmare. I'd rather have a nice cup of hot chocolate, read a bedtime story to my son, stroke the dog behind its ears, and get a kindly, crinkle-eyed smile from my wife. Story 12. Not getting a period. You could be perfectly healthy otherwise, but if you get a period, 12 times out of the year your week is harder to get through than non-period havers. Story 13. Starting from zero. When people talk about things like white privilege, there are always responses from people who started at zero. And that's true, many of us do. But zero is already better than where some people start. Starting at zero is difficult, but starting at -5 is even worse. Story 14. Not voting, especially in this most recent election, is concerning. I saw people commenting on Reddit and heard it in real life. People didn't vote because no one promised anything to them specifically, not realizing the type of privilege that comes with not having that deep-seated fear. Story 15. Being a United States citizen. While we are not a perfect country, being a United States citizen comes with a lot of privilege. A lot of people in the United States don't like to acknowledge this privilege. Story 16. Having access to reliable transportation. Seriously, So many people complain about needing a car, but do not realize how much of a luxury it actually is. Public transport is inadequate in a lot of places, and walking or biking is not always feasible or safe. It is surprising how many people just take it for granted. Story 17. Social justice and environmental concerns are privileged problems. If you're uncertain about where your next meal is coming from or whether your neighborhood is going to get bombed or shot up, pronouns and plastic are the furthest things from your mind. Story 18. Privacy on social media. If these companies ever kept your data safe, it is because they chose to. You have no rights. It's best to just delete your accounts and move on. Story 19. When I used to miss my ex, I think of the Maslow hierarchy and how I only get to feel sad about a relationship ending because I'm not consumed by the struggle of accessing food, water, shelter, and so on. This isn't to invalidate anything, feelings are feelings, but it would help me feel a bit more grateful for the quality of my human experience, if that makes sense. Story 20. Going through life without chronic pain. Headaches, tummy aches, sprains, backaches come and go, but if you don't know what it's like to have pain every single day, then you're very lucky. My uncle is 80, he's got no pain, never had. I'm in awe of that. My mom is 76 and only recently started getting arthritis and all sorts. She's letting me know for sure. Health is wealth. If I had a choice to be poor and healthy or rich and in pain, I know what I'd pick. Story 21. So I was very late to be diagnosed with autism in my late 30s. I went through life never understanding why I was different, always getting burnt out, being manipulated by people around me into thinking there was something wrong with me because I was struggling when others were not. I even remember mentioning that I thought I might be on the spectrum and being attacked by people online who were officially diagnosed as kids. Being diagnosed when you are young is a privilege. I'm not saying having autism is, but growing up in a time when it is more widely recognized is. Story 22. Vehicles. Many people should not be behind the wheel as they are a menace to society. Many just lack the skill, and many are reckless without even realizing they can kill anyone with their carelessness. If there were a temporary system enforced where people had a camera to track their driving to determine whether they would continue to be allowed to drive on public roads, many would lose access in less than an hour, and roads would be much safer due to people giving their best just to pass. Story 23. Pretty much any primary need. A roof over their head, food to eat, clean clothes, the ability to take a shower, healthcare, and even having a caring family. Story 24. Speaking English natively and being born in a developed country. It always feels weird when a white native English-speaking woman tells me that I am privileged, despite my having to learn her native language for half of my life to have a chance to live a decent life, and despite being from a war-torn country that has a lower gross domestic product than a major city in her own country. Up until 4 years old, my parents did not even have a bed. But I am privileged just because of the Y chromosome in my deoxyribonucleic acid. Story 25. Having supportive siblings. This one might sound odd, but I really feel for the people who have bad relationships with their siblings or don't have siblings at all. The relationship I've been able to cultivate with my sister through mutual understanding and respect is something I'd fight for until my dying breath. There's just something very special about having a person that understands you at an extremely intimate level without even having to say a word because they've been walking the same path as you. Story 26. Going to the grocery store to buy something you're craving. Something small even. I'm at a place in my life right now where I don't have money for groceries. Some days I wish I could just go buy a tomato or some fruit to enjoy that isn't rotting or expired from the food bank. Story 27. Being apolitical. You are privileged enough that you don't rely on a safety net and wouldn't care if it was taken away. Even if you would benefit from its expansion, you're not bothered enough to take a position on it. Story 28. Not living in pain. Having living parents, let alone actual good parents. Parents that are there for you and don't cause constant anger, stress, and resentment. Love. Story 29. I might get crucified for this, but please read the rest. Having children at all. Children are or should be a privilege, not a right. Because all children deserve loving and stable homes, but not all people deserve to be or should be parents. It's not a light decision you make just because you want a mini-me, or to save or spruce up your dead-end relationship, or because you want them to take care of you when you're older. To me, most reasons people have children are more selfish than those for people who don't want them at all. It's a lifetime commitment with many risks and possibilities, but unfortunately, a lot of parents don't take that into consideration, and later on, that mentality screws up the child in one way or another. Coming from someone whose own case was similar because of my parents' ignorance. Story 30. Being slim. There are so many factors that could contribute to individuals' weight, like genetics, mental health, and health conditions. Many places aren't kind to those who fall outside the beauty standard. A lot of people never had to experience being chubby as a child or an adult and how the world treats you. I know that many people work hard for their physique, but it can be demonstrably difficult for others in comparison. Story 31. Having a disposable income. Most of my adult life, I had enough money to keep my bills paid, but it's only now at 44 that I will have money above and beyond that to spend. I've missed out on decades of clubs, parties, coffee shops, and vacations. Story 32. Being able to make generalizations about a social group is considered no big deal, or awareness of them is viewed as political correctness gone too far. Even nice stereotypes that aren't negative, such as saying all disabled people are inspirations or all indigenous groups have a slower lifestyle, are still turning all people with one common aspect into a monolith and erasing personal, regional, and cultural differences. This type of thinking is pervasive, but if you point it out, you're apparently overreacting. Many people don't even realize their culture, lifestyle, or body is treated as the default, so they are seen as individuals from this baseline, while more assumptions are made about others who have a definable trait. Story 33. To have free education for 12 to 13 years. To have products to help keep you clean if you menstruate. To have weather-appropriate clothes. To walk down the street and not be yelled at. Story 34. I was just going to say clean water, food in your stomach, a roof over your head, multiple changes of clothes, a car, school, a job, and family. I've lived in third-world countries and have seen some frightening and heartbreaking circumstances. I can never be ungrateful for the extreme luxury in America, and I am always shocked at greedy, complaining people. Seriously? Story 35. Just having normal, clear skin. There are young people out there who smoke, drink a liter of Mountain Dew daily, and don't wash for 3 days, yet still somehow have perfectly clear, beautiful skin. Yet I wash twice a day, read every ingredient in any product I buy, hide in the bathroom, and use toilet paper to absorb grease off my face in the middle of the day, and never participate in anything after hours because I look like a walking Kentucky Fried Chicken dumpster fire. Story 36. Getting braces. I am a 30-year-old paying $10,000 for my own braces because my parents didn't want to spend the money or drive me out of town to the nearest orthodontist for treatment. They gaslit me for years about my teeth. Now I'm on the braces subreddit, and wow, some of the teenagers on there whose parents are paying are so entitled and bratty. They do not understand how privileged they are. Story 37. Having poor handwriting. Handwriting was used in the Jim Crow era to discriminate against black voter registration and hiring. Learning to write legibly, barring a disability, is fundamentally important. Story 38. Being able to sleep peacefully without worrying about bugs, like mosquito bites, is a privilege that some people don't realize they have. In certain areas, people constantly deal with pests while trying to rest. I hear a lot of stories about that. Story 39. Having parents who spend time with you or are emotionally supportive gives you such an uplift in life to just have parents you can rely on and who give you the experience of a family bond. Story 40. Having working hands. I've developed sclerosis around my 30s, and it's been staggering to realize just how many mundane things and products are not made with arthritic and clawing hands in mind. Bottle caps, coins, doorknobs, faucets, plastic wrappers, shoes, the list goes on. I don't know how older people get by. I feel like I need help for just about anything at this point. Story 41. Urban privilege. You can see it really strong here on Reddit. Related to that is the thought that anyone could just pick up and move to a city and have things be easier if they so choose, when it's really not that simple for most people who don't already live in one. Story 42. Having an indoor toilet. Until I was 14, we used to use a wooden box over a tank that had to be pumped out every couple of weeks. Having a flushing indoor toilet is still a wonderful luxury. Story 43. Getting your mail brought to your home. The cost of postage is from one post office to another. Delivery to your home is done as a courtesy and there is no charge for that. People think it is a right and think it is written in as law. It is not. Story 44. My dad doesn't understand that growing up with an undivorced two-parent household with supportive, loving, understanding parents was a privilege I had. Story 45. The ability to drive. A lot of people out there think it's their God-given right to drive, especially those who are notoriously horrible and dangerous drivers. Story 46. I have been a parent for 36 years. It is not lost on me that I have never once had to go to bed knowing my son or daughter is hungry and there is nothing I can do about it. Not once. That is a true privilege. Story 47. Buying two items that can accomplish the same task. A car and a motorcycle for transportation. Multiple sets of kitchenware. Multiple nice suits or dresses for formal occasions.